Mr. Toastmaster. My fellow Toastmates and our guest Steve, welcome. Good to have you here. How many of you here always run into problems when you're doing a home improvement project? Yep. I can tell you myself, I always underestimate the amount of time it's going to take to do a project. Through the years of trial and error, I've calculated a formula that tells me an approximate time that I can get this project done. And that formula tells me it's going to take me almost exactly 11 times the amount I think it's going to take to get the project done. Now here's an example. In November I had a 3-day weekend and I took on a project. There was this sink, my kitchen sink was gurgling. It was draining slow, so I'm like, well, I'll go to Menards. Picked up a $3 pipe, got under the kitchen sink, started to replace it, thinking it's between the garbage disposal and the main drain. It's probably clogged. My wife saw me and said, honey, you've got to paint the hallways this weekend, and it always takes you longer when you're plumbing than you think it's going to take. I'm like, it's a pipe. It's only going to take me 30 minutes. And at that moment, a voice in my head said, the formula. And I thought, no, it doesn't apply in this situation. It's just a pipe. I can replace a pipe in 15 minutes. So I got the pipe out, put the new pipe in. Sure enough, it clogged with food. I put the new pipe in. In 15 minutes, I'm screwing the screw in, and I'm thinking, yep, got it done. Just before the screw was on all the way to get the pipe into the garbage disposal, it stuck, and it wouldn't go in. And I'm like, oh no. So I turn on the water to test it, and it's leaking. The garbage disposal is leaking, and the water's still clogged slow. So I think maybe it's in the other side of the drain, so I start undoing the strainer, which a plumber will tell you you're not supposed to do, but I did it anyways. And the strainer nut gets stuck about a ½ inch down. I can't get it up, I can't get it down. I'm like, oh great, the formula is in effect. So a half an hour of trying to get that strainer nut off, I can't do it. I go to Menards again, I buy an $8 pipe wrench that's supposed to get this strainer nut off. I come home, still spins, I can't get it off. I'm like, Google. I go to the computer, how do you get a strainer? How to get a strainer off that's stuck? Well, a hacksaw. I'm like, that's a good idea, I got one of those. I try and get under and I can't do it. I'm like, I gotta take this sink off. I wait for my wife to leave so she doesn't know. And I take the entire kitchen sink off, I undo all the fittings, undo the screws from under the countertop. I pick the sink up, put it on the floor. And my hacksaw's just not doing the job, so drill. I take a drill and I'm trying to drill that nut out and it won't work. A hammer and a chisel, that will do the trick. So I'm hammering on it, boom, 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 boom. And after about 20 hits, the nut breaks off. My strainer's shot, but I'm happy. At least I don't have to replace the sink. So I go to Menards again, and by this time they're snickering at me because they know I've got a problem, but I don't care. I've got a $10 strainer now. I come home, put that on, get the sink back up on the counter, screw the screws in, put all the fittings together, and it's about 4 hours now, about $25 in parts. And I'm almost back to where I was in the beginning before I started with this mess. So now I'm thinking I probably should call a plumber. But then I think, well, you know, I got a great idea. I've got this blow bag. I should have thought about this. A blow bag's a little rubber device you hook onto a garden hose. And as you fill it up with water, it fills your pipe, the blow bag, so that water can't get up past it, and it shoots a great force of water into the clog and knocks it out of the way. So I'm like, tomorrow morning I'll do that. I go up on the roof the next morning all happy, shove the pipe, or shove the hose down the pipe, the vent pipe, and then I go out to the front yard to turn on the water. Of course, I'm not stupid. I tell my wife, you know, you got to watch by the kitchen sink in case something happens here. So I turn the water on outside. I'm waiting about 15 seconds. I don't hear her yelling, so I turn the pipe off. I'm walking towards the house thinking, that probably did it. As I'm walking towards the house, I hear my wife shout, honey, turn it off! Honey, turn it off! I don't say anything, I just keep walking because what's the sense now? I can't stop it. So I get in the kitchen, I look under the sink, and in the sink, there's about 4 to 5 inches of dirty, mucky water. Well, no big deal. You know, I'll probably call the plumber now. This is as far as I can go. But it starts draining. About 45 minutes later, it's gone. And I'm thinking, I wonder what would happen if I put that blow bag under the kitchen sink instead of putting it in the vent. So I undo all the pipes under the kitchen sink, stick the blow bag down in that, turn on the water outside, come inside, and I'm looking about 45 seconds, nothing's happened. I'm thinking, this is good. You know, maybe the cloud's gone. I go outside to turn off the water, and I hear, it's not raining, but I hear water coming off the roof, and it's coming out the vent, 15 feet high off the roof. Shh. I'm thinking, oh no, the formula. So I come back inside the house and tell my wife, you're going to have to turn off the water outside while I hold a rag on that, because when I turn off the water, the blow bag's going to get lower, and all the water, like a water tower, is going to come up and out my kitchen sink. So she grumbles, oh. She turns off the water while I'm holding this rag. And I'm holding it hard. And I'm thinking I'm going to have to hold it for an hour, but water's spilling out just a little bit. But after 5 minutes, it stops leaking. I'm like, hey, maybe the clog's gone, because there should have been a lot more water than that came up. So my wife takes this rag to wash it in the basement. As she opens the door, I hear like a waterfall of water coming down from beneath the kitchen sink down into the basement. I'm like, oh no. I go downstairs, I get a drill, open up the, I'm like, past owner of this house should have had a suspended ceiling, you know, I'm blaming it on them. And I'm hacksawing a hole in the ceiling so I can see the pipes, and they look good. I told my wife, don't worry, the plumber's gonna have to open up this anyways to get to the pipes. So then I call the plumber. He comes and looks at this hole in the ceiling, he's like, I don't have to get up there. He's like, there's this access panel here. He takes this Roto-Rooter, 30 minutes, cleans it up, $90, the thing's fixed. So the moral of the story is, know your formula. Know how, if you think something's going to take you an hour and it's going to take you 10 hours, it might be better off just to call a plumber. And that's the main thing I can tell you from this story. Know when to call a plumber. Thank you very much.